We need to make our voices heard. We're not red, we're not blue. We're the building trades, the backbone of America. We built a $5 billion, you want to build a $5 billion data center? Want more six-figure careers with health care retirement and no college debt? You don't call Elon Musk, you call us. North America's building trades unions. And yeah, that means all of us, including our brother, smart apprentice, KILMAR ABREGO GARCIA, who we demand to be returned to us and his family now. Bring him home.
Hey everyone, welcome back to True News, your home for sharp takes, deep dives, and the occasional, wait, did that actually happen, moment in American politics. If you're new here, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so the algorithm doesn't forget we exist. If you're not new here, you already know what this is. So imagine you're a working class dad in Maryland. You've got 3 kids, one of them nonverbal, you pay your taxes, you show up to your ICE check-ins on time, and one day you get kidnapped by your own government, sent to a hell prison in El Salvador, and ghosted by the entire system like it's your toxic ex. Not dramatic enough? Okay. Add this. You had legal status. You won in court. The Supreme Court said, yo, this was illegal, and you're still not back. Ladies, gentlemen, and people who can spell democracy, let me introduce you to KILMAR Armando Abrego Garcia, a man deported by the Trump administration because of, and I quote, an administrative error, which is what I usually call accidentally deleting a file, not extraditing a legal resident to a foreign military-grade mega-prison, but sure, oops. This is CECOT, cold, gray, and silent, like a prison built without a heart. It's not a place for anyone, especially not a father who only wanted safety, a father with a child waiting, confused, needing love, not silence behind bars. This isn't justice, it's abandonment. You see, KILMAR wasn't just deported, he was dropped into CECOT, a Salvadoran supermax prison straight out of a dystopian sci-fi movie. No trial, no charges, not even a hey man you good from a US official. Just we sent the wrong guy, lol. And what crime did he commit? Was he a gang leader, a drug trafficker, a warlord? Nope, he wore a Chicago Bulls hat. No, seriously, that was part of the evidence. Apparently in 2025, repping the Bulls is MS-13 cosplay. Someone should probably let Scottie Pippen know. The kicker, Trump's DOJ admitted it was a mistake. The courts said it was illegal, and their solution was to just leave him there, to rot in a foreign prison with zero due process. So yeah, today we're unpacking the absurd, infuriating, and disturbingly authoritarian tale of KILMAR Abrego Garcia, why he was deported, how the courts responded, and why the US government seems to think oops is a valid immigration policy. Buckle up, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because apparently the only thing more fragile than democracy is a YouTube algorithm.
To meet with representatives of the government. I hope to have the chance to actually see KILMAR and see what his condition is.
Okay, let's rewind. KILMAR Abrego Garcia came to the U.S. in 2011 at the age of 16, fleeing gang violence in El Salvador. You know, the whole don't join our gang or we'll kill you and your family situation that American asylum policy used to recognize as a valid reason to not get deported. In 2019, a U.S. immigration judge heard KILMAR's case and basically said, yeah, if we send this guy back, he'll probably be murdered. So they granted him what's called withholding of removal, which is immigration law speak for we can't legally deport this person, but we won't give them a green card either because bureaucracy must remain spicy. He followed every rule. He checked in with ICE annually. He married a U.S. citizen. He had a child, he paid taxes, he even did the very American thing of getting profiled while waiting for work in a Home Depot parking lot. But then 2025 rolls around. Trump's back in office, immigration enforcement is on steroids, and somewhere inside ICE someone hits the wrong button, maybe trying to play Minesweeper, and KILMAR's name ends up on a send these folks to the worst prison in Central America list. Breath, boom. He's grabbed off the street while picking up his autistic son from his grandma's house. The agents tell him his status changed, which is a funny way of saying we ignored a court order and yeeted you across international borders without legal cause. So where does he land? Not in a court, not in ICE detention. No, they ship him to CECOT, El Salvador's mega prison famous for 3 things: concrete bunkers, state-sanctioned torture, and apparently a frequent flyer program for American deportees. Here's where it gets even wilder. The U.S. is paying El Salvador $6 million a year to house these deportees in CECOT. We are literally subsidizing authoritarian detention policies abroad because it's more efficient than, I don't know, following our own immigration laws. Now, when this whole thing exploded in the press, the Trump administration called it an administrative error. The Supreme Court called it completely illegal, and ICE called it Tuesday. So what does Bukele say when asked if he'll return KILMAR? What, return a terrorist to America? No, no, no. This is my new favorite inmate. Mind you, KILMAR has never, not once, been convicted of a crime in either country. The closest thing to evidence against him was a tip from a guy who once confused a Chicago Bulls hat for gang affiliation. If that's the bar now, half of middle schoolers and 90s hip-hop fans are going to federal prison.
From this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job.
Let's be clear here. This isn't just about KILMAR. This is about what happens when the government realizes it can break the law and no one stops them. The Trump administration didn't just ignore a deportation order. They lied about it, then turned around and said, well, he's in another country now, so it's not really our problem. That's like kidnapping someone, tossing them across the border, and then saying, well, technically we're not holding him anymore. The courts have repeatedly, unanimously said, bring him back. The Trump team responded by shrugging and redefining facilitate like it's a word they found on Duolingo and kind of guessed at the meaning. Even the Supreme Court, a conservative majority court, said what happened to KILMAR was illegal. Justice Sotomayor warned that if the government's argument held, it meant the U.S. could abduct and deport anyone, even citizens, without consequence as long as they did it fast enough. Meanwhile, Trump's biggest frustration in this whole saga, not the wrongful deportation, not the unconstitutional detention, not the fact that a U.S. resident is trapped in a Salvadoran hell prison. Nope, he's mostly mad that someone asked him about it. You said you'd follow the Supreme Court's order? Oh, why are you being so annoying? Sir, you sound like a middle schooler caught lying about homework. And now the White House says the case was never a mistake, just a correction, which is some real 1984 gaslight you in front of a live audience kind of energy. His family is begging for answers. His wife is pleading outside the courthouse. ICE says they have no updates. El Salvador says he's staying, and the U.S. is pretending its hands are tied, even though it paid for the damn zip ties in the first place. And if you're thinking this would never happen to me, remember KILMAR wasn't a criminal. He wasn't undocumented anymore. He was following every rule they gave him, and they still came for him. So yeah, maybe this isn't just about one man and one prison. Maybe it's a test, to see how far they can push, to see if anyone notices, and to see what they can get away with before the rest of us look up from our phones. So what now? You could ignore it, or you could stay loud, stay tuned, and stay informed, because next time the administrative error might be you, or someone you love. If you're as furious, confused, or just sick of being gaslit by your own government as I am, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment with your thoughts below. Because yeah, democracy's fragile, but YouTube's algorithm, that sucker's even weaker. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe, stay skeptical, and stay sane.